guys, welcome back to another episode of The Story Of. Today I'm going to try and tackle Metal Gear Solid 4, which is a hefty game full of lots of cutscenes and a ton of information. I'm going to try to get through it as fast as possible, but I also want to be thorough, so I don't know how long this is going to take me. But I feel like so much is really important in this game because it closes every loose end, so I want to be able to do this one justice. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, is the last Metal Gear game in canon. It is the last story that Solid Snake will be part of. Metal Gear Solid 4 was released June 12, 2008, and I got it as a graduation gift from high school. It takes place in 2014, 5 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 9 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid. Okay, I'm just gonna dive straight in. We're gonna start the game and let's go.
War has changed.
Fallout disagrees. Snake is driving with a group of soldiers in the Middle East. Soldiers now carry ID-tagged weapons and gear. Every soldier is equipped with nanomachines to keep everything monitored and under control.
He who controls the battlefield controls history.
Our truck stops and we see the group we are with being obliterated. We hear what sounds like cow mooing and come face to face with these unmanned war vehicles named Gecko. You would think it would have something to do with a cow. Snake tries to sneak through but ends up getting close and personal with them. Boom, cloak is off and we get our first look at the new old Snake. Yes, Solid Snake has a very old appearance in this game, and when it was first announced I was really upset. And I kind of still am sad about it. In this game, Snake is equipped with an awesome octo camo that camouflages in with whatever he touches. No place for Hideo. I also have to point out that the music in this game literally gives me chills to this day. It is fantastic. 3 days earlier, we see old Snake saluting a grave. MGS3 flashbacks. But no, literally, flashbacks. A chopper comes down and we see Otacon pop out. He explains an old friend is waiting for Snake. Snake asks about some test results and Otacon explains that he has signs similar of Werner syndrome, which is accelerated aging, and that Snake has a year at best. Snake mentions that he still has Foxdie in his system, but Otacon remarks they still don't know where Naomi is. Oh yeah. This game is loaded with flashbacks. It's amazing. Snake enters the chopper and it's our old pal Colonel Campbell. He explains he's been working with the UN Security Council and he's charged with watching the PMCs, private military companies. And the world is full of them right now. And they actually have more control and men than actual government militaries.
We found him.
He's found Liquid Ocelot. Liquid is launching an insurrection in the Middle East and he wants Snake to track him down and assassinate him. We cut to somebody making some eggs and singing a strange code. More on that later. Act 1, Liquid Sun. We're right back to where we left off and get a codec call from Otacon. He explains he scouted the area with a Mark II, a remote mobile terminal, that we will have to find up ahead. We see a tank full of PMC soldiers arrive and have to sneak through the area. We see Snake being watched by something, and it's a Metal Gear Mark II. It's so cute! Otacon talks to us through it, and will be right by our side in spirit.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Snake.
It gives us a solid eye, which helps us see radar, night vision, and other data. And he also gives us some weapons. We learn that guns are hard to come by that aren't controlled, and obviously Solid Snake would be on the blacklist. The Mark II has stealth camo and will follow us throughout our journey. And we can take control of it when need be. Now to meet up with our informant to find Liquid's location. Fun fact is you can help the militia, and they will be thankful and let you go through their areas and sometimes even give you ammo. We continue to sneak through the war zone of militia versus PMCs and into an underground bunker. Inside we find a monkey drinking soda and a man named Drebin.
Neither enemy nor friend.
Drebin sells laundered guns with no control and will be our go-to for weapons in the future. He works at Arms Tech. We make a deal that whatever guns we find and can't use because of the ID tags, we'll give to him and he'll give us points in return to get guns without IDs. It's a win-win situation. He shows us his cool tank and explains that our old nanomachines are screwing with the non-ID guns, and he has to suppress them or we won't work with the system. He jabs us with a needle that does the job and we can fire the weapon he gives us. He leaves and we continue on. Outside we see a soldier finding a man hiding in a bin taking a dump, and nothing out of the ordinary. This is Metal Gear after all. We reach the rendezvous point and find the dude who was just in the barrel. He reminds Snake of a young Meryl. Rookie eyes. And we put him in his place. And just like that, Snake is surrounded.
Slowly now.
But we recognize that voice and spot the Foxhound logo. It's Meryl! She looks amazing! Look at the graphics, she's beautiful and perfect. I love her. She is shocked to see we are old as now, and we learn that she's our informant. Meryl punches the man known as Akiba and explains that they are Rat Patrol Team 01. And they watch PMC activity, kind of like what Campbell does. Meryl is the commander of their group. Akiba's stomach starts bugging him again. Diarrhea. Meryl says Liquid's been in the area for 4 days and has a woman with him who is possibly a scientist. Snake's vision is going. This dude's got an exclamation mark haircut. You gotta love it. She explains that that's Johnny, but they call him Akiba. Johnny. Meryl explains that even though Snake left the unit and disappeared, she never gave up on Foxhound, but that she's done playing little love games. Snake says he's there for threat assessment, and Meryl doesn't buy it. She thinks he's there to assassinate Liquid. Which is true. She says there's no way Liquid can launch an insurrection because the PMC soldiers are under surveillance 24 hours a day by this AT security system monitoring all of their nanomachines, so if they choose to go rogue, they can just shut off their weapons completely. Snake asks if the Patriots are behind this, and Meryl responds with, okay, never mind. This system, which is controlling everybody, is called the SOP System, Sons of the Patriots, and that it is controlled by an AI in the US. Meryl's group is basically backup for the system when things go wrong, and they monitor the soldiers and try to figure out what happened. That's how they ended up finding Liquid. Liquid Ocelot. We refer to him as Liquid in this game. Meryl didn't realize that Snake was going to be the one sent, and he assumes the Colonel would have told her. Meryl's like, what? I didn't hear anything about that, and so she's clearly pissed off that Campbell sent him. She starts throwing crap around and says, he's not my father! So it's like, ooh. She found out. We hear the sound, which ends up being a nanomachine sound, and she quickly calms down and goes back to normal. She's mad at her father and explains that he remarried a girl her age, and I guess the chick has a kid. She mad though. One of their sensors goes off and the frogs are on the way. The frogs are Liquid's private troops and are super badass female soldiers. We learn that it's Johnny's binoculars at fault, he's an idiot, and he gets slapped, and now we have to escape the frogs. If you do well during this, Meryl compliments you, and if you suck, she calls you out. It's great. And we even get to experience Johnny in his pants and everyone holding their breath. It's fantastic. We see Rat Patrol in full team action, and it's really impressive. Meryl explains it's the nanomachines that help them work as a team and work as one with SOP, and it also helps with managing pain. Except for Johnny, who is kind of the odd man out. Meryl tells us where Liquid's camp is, and we will meet up with her later. We follow the militia and can help them defeat the PMCs if we so choose. It's really satisfying if you do help, but you don't have to. You can sneak through the whole area. We come across this sobbing wolf thing, and the soldiers all exclaim, it's the beast! We see a flying version of it, we see an octopus, and we see this psycho mantis looking one. The men end up getting slaughtered by these creatures, and Snake is just standing there like, what the is happening? We sneak or fight our way into the camp, and then we see him. Liquid Ocelot! We also see Meryl and crew stationed nearby, and she calls us. The jig is up, she knows what we're there for, and she says, I can't help you out because that's not her orders. Liquid whispers into a radio.
Activate it.
We hear that nanomachine sound effect, and all the soldiers start crumbling to the ground. They're crying, foaming at the mouth, and going insane, although Johnny, for whatever reason, is not affected. Liquid and the woman watch over the group. Liquid is pleased, and the woman doesn't seem very happy. Snake is having some effects, but manages to point his gun at Liquid. And Liquid notices. Brother! He says they are free now. Snake starts to pass out, and a woman approaches him. It's freaking Naomi! She injects herself with something in the neck, and then leaves the needle at his side. She tells him to go fulfill his destiny and leaves. Liquid puts his deal with the glasses on, and the nanomachine sound stops. They board a helicopter and leave, and Johnny carries Snake to safety. We are brought to a briefing mission on the Nomad, and there's some eggs again. We see a little girl bringing eggs for Uncle Hal. How cute! Snake wakes up and dogs her eggs. Rude. And we learn that her name is Sunny.
Her name was Olga.
These briefings come up periodically through this game, and we can decide how we want to watch the briefing. We can take control of the little Mark II, security cameras, the cutscenes, or all of the above. We learn that Snake was out for a day. Snake's mad that Liquid got away and that his body seized up on him. Otacon explains everyone went haywire, and some people's hearts literally just stopped. He explains Naomi is on Liquid's side. Otacon said he got a video message from Naomi. Sunny brings Snake some eggs, and he's like, nah, but I'll take this cigarette. In the video, Naomi addresses Snake. She's been captured and forced to do research for Liquid. He wants to seize control of SOP, but to do so needs to figure out how the third generation of nanomachines work. Naomi had made the first generation, which had included Fox Dye, and they incorporated it in making the newer generations, hence why he needs her. Liquid found a loophole in the system and is going to launch the insurrection soon. She needs to be rescued in South America.
Hurry.
She sent her location via code, which Sunny decoded. Campbell calls us and says how Naomi was detained after Shadow Moses, and she was busted out by someone who must have been Liquid. He also explains that Liquid has control over the top 5 PMCs in the world. And we see somebody serving Campbell dinner. Maybe his new wife? Well, looks like we're headed to South America. Act 2, Solid Sun. Snake asks Campbell how the Patriots are involved, that the data from Arsenal gear that they recovered was bullshit. It had a list of people who were dead for hundreds of years as the people who were the Patriots, and that they are obviously still very active. Basically, Solidus was right in MGS2 about the Patriots taking over the world. Liquid Ocelot's insurrection is against the Patriots. Like Big Boss, he wants war to rage, but he also wants freedom. So our goal is to destroy the system and Liquid. We see that strange octopus person again, and Vamp! He's back with all of his knife-licking action. They're looking for Snake, and the octopus has our face. Nightmare fuel. Vamp and the Beast leave, and Snake heads towards the safe house location. Otacon tells us Mei Ling is in command of an old World War II battleship and is going to be helping us out from Hawaii. On our way, Campbell calls us and introduces us to his psychological counselor, Rosemary. She's his new wife? What? Snake asks about Jack, Raiden, and he says they lost all trace of him, that he saved Sunny from the Patriots.
He disappeared soon after that.
Campbell just swooped in and got Raiden's girl. Snake is just as disgusted as Meryl is. We continue on and get a mysterious call with somebody breathing creepily on the other end and warns us of an ambush up ahead.
Government and PMC troops.
And the voice is Raiden's! Raiden! The whole gang is back together. Snake's like, Jack?
Jack is dead.
Ominous. We have to get through some heavy combat and come across Drebin again. Damn monkey. He explains that the B&Bs are here, the Beauty and the Beast Corps. They're a squad of enhanced female soldiers who protect the PMCs. We learn that their main mission is to kill Solid Snake. Comforting. He explains that each of the B&Bs have been traumatized by war with PTSD and are now soldiers as their only way of dealing with it.
War transforms a snake into beasts.
He also says they can't survive outside of these suits they are donning. There are 4 of them: Raging Raven, Laughing Octopus, Crying Wolf, and Screaming Mantis. Those sound familiar. Snake asks if Drebin's with the Patriots, and he says no, proving it by saying the word
Patriot.
Drebin explains that the Patriots have taken a life of their own, run by the AI and not actual people. Alright, well, see you later. Raiden calls again.
I am Raiden. Jack is no more.
And tells us that he's right beside us. Okay. Raiden explains that he was on a mission to find the corpse of Big Boss in exchange for Sunny's location in the Patriots, for somebody named Big Mama, and he explains that Big Boss's body is with her, and then we get cut off. We call up Rosemary and tell her that we just talked to Raiden, and she seems happy, but she also asks us to hide her involvement. She says after MGS2 he was super unstable, became a drunk, and they ended up splitting up, and she had never seen him again. We follow the gorillas into the base and locate Naomi in a hidden lab. She has some problems and injects herself with a needle again. Snake asks her what the hell happened with all the soldiers back there, and she explains that it was the soldiers feeling all of their emotions and memories, that SOP has another function, not to just control war, but also to control people by their senses, and can basically suppress emotions. When they did their test by releasing the nanomachines from the system, all the trauma and stress was brought to the forefront, and so their minds were in shambles, and she kind of explains that that's how Gray Fox was. Naomi wants to examine Snake and makes him strip, and she's then visibly upset by his body. Way to make him feel terrible, Naomi.
All right, let's just get this over with.
After examining him, she explains that Snake and Liquid are clones made for war, that they were made to have a termination age and no ability to reproduce so that governments couldn't kidnap them and abuse their power. She explains that Snake has 6 months to live, but that isn't his lifespan, that the fox dye in his body is still mutating because of his accelerated age, and it will soon start killing anyone and everyone in around 3 months. Basically, fox dye was meant to target individuals and kill them, and soon it's going to start targeting everyone. Snake offers to kill himself before then, killing the virus with him, but he still has a job to do first. Naomi asks if he's been given any injections recently, and she explains that there's a new strain of fox dye in his body, Drebin. She arms us with some needles to help when the system goes haywire again, and explains that she'll tell us where Liquid is once Snake helps her escape, that she can't escape by herself because she's being watched. She says Liquid's plans have changed. Instead of destroying the system, Liquid wants to hijack SOP since he can't free people without them all losing their minds. He wants to launch a war against the Patriots with their own system. Suddenly, PMCs rush in and take Naomi, and we are left to fight Laughing Octopus. She hides with her octo camo, and there's also a lot of frogs to deal with. And boom, our first F word in MGS history. We end up besting Octopus, and she comes out of her shell. Each B&B can be killed or tranked, or you can wait until they die from just being out in the environment without their suits. If you wait until they end up dying, I think it's around 2 minutes, you can hear their entire story and the trauma that they faced, and it's really depressing. She dies, and Snake takes her face camo. Drebin apparently knows this immediately and calls us to tell us about said face camo and explains, hey, I wasn't the one who put the virus in your body. Swearsies. He tells us about Laughing Octopus, that as a teen her village was attacked and everyone killed, but they kept her alive and made her torture and kill her family and friends, forcing her to laugh while she did it. And that there was so much blood it turned black and she thought it looked like the ink from an octopus. So basically every time we face a B&B, Drebin's there to explain their backstory and how they came to be. We leave the area and have to go find Naomi by following her footsteps with a solid eye. In this area, there are a million Easter eggs, including the fun crop circle flashback. We come across a helicopter with Vamp and the PMCs taking Naomi on board. Liquid tells Vamp to do another test. Snake puts a bullet into Vamp's skull, and Vamp says he's just gonna take a nap real quick. The PMCs start firing at Snake, but then the test begins and the nanomachines lose control. Naomi yells at Snake to use the syringe. Geckos descend upon our location, and Drebin comes out of nowhere, running a bunch of them over. Naomi jumps off the helicopter into Drebin's tank, and we all get in. Vamp's bullet has already healed itself, and he goes to fly off. No biggie. Otacon says he's found a landing zone to meet us with helicopters, so we have to go make it fighting off geckos and zombie-like soldiers. Drebin crashes his tank, and we are surrounded. Wait a minute, it's Raiden on the roof, looking like a badass ninja. Drebin tells us to get out of there, and we escort Naomi. Raiden takes on all the geckos like a cyborg ninja badass. Very, very different from the last time we saw him. Snake makes it through the market with Naomi, avoiding geckos, and gets on the helicopter. Otacon and Naomi have a moment. We go to pick up Raiden and see Vamp is controlling geckos, and Raiden is now trapped. He stabs him in the chest, and of course licks off his white artificial blood because Vamp. Raiden then breakdances with the geckos and fights Vamp, both getting completely wrecked in the process. Raiden then kills Vamp again and jumps onto the helicopter. He is in really bad condition. Vamp rises again and talks to Liquid, saying Naomi got away, and that somebody's blood wasn't enough for the second test, and that they need the original. Whatever that means. Ryan is dying, and Otacon comments that Vamp must be immortal. Naomi says no, that she made nanomachines that can accelerate healing, and that someone perfected it, and that's why Vamp can't die. She says that she has the same nanomachines. Raiden says Snake needs to go meet with Big Mama. We are back to another mission briefing. We see Sunny making eggs, and Naomi is helping her. They nerd out together, and a bond is created. Naomi explains to Otacon that Liquid is in Eastern Europe and wants the corpse of Big Boss to use as a key to the SOP system. The system keys are Big Boss's genetic code and biometric data. She explains he's been performing tests to break into the system, one using Liquid's DNA and the second using Snake's DNA. But Liquid and Solid are not 100% DNA matches of Big Boss. And ooh, Otacon and Naomi are having some moments. Solid and Liquid are very similar, but they're still different enough, and that's why Snake survived the Fox die and not Liquid. And that's why they created Solidus, the perfect clone. So basically, if Liquid uses Big Boss's remains, he'll be able to take control of the system. Snake mentions, but what about the biometric data? Big Boss has been dead forever, and then boom, it's revealed that he is still alive.
Big Boss is alive.
Well, his body is. He's brain dead and basically just cells being kept alive. Raiden says that in Eastern Europe, there's equipment that can save him. Dr. Madnar. Remember him? So, to Europe it is. Naomi takes the USB off her necklace and heads over to flirt with Otacon. Otacon explains that Sunny was the one that cracked Naomi's code, and she's basically a child prodigy genius. Naomi looks over at Sunny and puts her necklace back on, and asks if she could sleep in the helicopter. The sexual tension has basically hit peak levels, and they canoodle in the helicopter. Go Otacon. My man. Act 3, Third Son. Snake arrives in Europe where there's a national curfew. We have to go find the Paradise Lost Army, which is the resistance group led by this Big Mama figure. So we have to find her base. We've been blacklisted, so we have to show up in disguise, and we have our old face. Well, what our face should look like, because of our face octo camo. Look how young we should be. Disguise and all, we still almost get caught. And then Meryl says,
"We've been looking for this man."
Phew, perfect timing, Meryl. She admires our face, and we see Rat Patrol is still with her. Meryl explains that she has tons of backup now because the government sees that Liquid is a big problem, and that now they can take him by force. She explains that they control the system, and that they can shut down the PMC's weapon. Meryl then tries to convince Snake to stay out of it, but of course we refuse. She calls us old and leaves. Since there's a curfew out, we have to be very, very sneaky, and find a resistance member and tail them to Big Mama. Otacon explains that they got in touch with Madnar, and Sunny and Naomi are off to go get equipment for Raiden. We spot a resistance member who is whistling a great tune and tail him while also helping him out unknowingly along the way. And if you look behind you, there's someone tailing you, but that's an Easter egg. Snake follows him to the door and boom, holds him hostage, demanding to meet Big Mama.
Here to see Big Mama.
The other men say it must be him because we were sneaky as hell. On the wall we see some MGS artwork, and then the men say, oh, we're freaking old, so obviously we have to show them and take them all out. And then here she is. It's Big Mama. Snake explains that Raiden sent him, and Big Mama calls us by our real name, David. Jesus. And explains that she gave us life. She is our mother. Boom. Bomb. Dropped. That les enfants terribles, even clones need to be born from a woman's body. She gave birth for the Patriots. Mama explains that Liquid wants her dead and that he's in a battle with Zero, the founder of the Patriots. 40 years ago, the Patriots were born during the Cold War, and she explains that she's a founding member. Zero created the Patriots to control the American state, but it continued as AIs, creating the war economy and the SOP system. She basically explains the plot of MGS3 and is revealed to be Eva. It's Eva! The outfit should have tipped you off. In MGS3, Eva failed her mission because she had the fake Philosopher's Legacy and was forced to be on the run until Big Boss found her and rescued her. Zero, who had the real Philosopher's Legacy, used the money to start the Patriots, to carry out the boss's final wishes. So the Patriots started as Big Boss, Sigint, Paramedic, Zero, and Ocelot, even though Ocelot stayed in the Soviet Union to just be an informant for the Patriots, and later Eva joined on. Zero thought the boss wanted a unity of thought and awareness, and he wanted to use Big Boss as the icon for their organization since he was her last prodigy and Boss was his mentor. Zero wanted Big Boss to become an idol because
every era needs its symbols to control the people.
Zero ended up getting power hungry and Big Boss hated him because he was basically being used as a puppet, and so they drifted apart. Zero still wanted Big Boss to be a representation, so he started Les Enfants Terribles to create a clone of Big Boss, led by Dr. Clark, who is paramedic. Eva then volunteered to carry the pregnancy because she loved Big Boss, and she wanted to give birth to his children. And she did. She gave birth to Solid Snake and Liquid Snake. Big Boss found out about Les Enfants Terribles and left the Patriots to create his own group. He never wanted clones of himself, and Zero did this against his will. So once Big Boss gave him the middle finger, Zero kind of lost it. Big Mama thinks it's sad because they both kind of misinterpreted the boss's will, and because of it, they started a war against each other. Big Boss created Outer Heaven and Zanzibar Land, but obviously Snake stopped him both times. After Metal Gear 2, Zero recovered Frank Yeager and Big Boss's bodies, and Big Boss is still held as a vegetable. Zero lost his belief in humans, was just super pissed off, and started this network of AIs, GW, TJ, AL, and TR, to lead the future.
And one core artificial intelligence to unite them, John Doe.
We destroyed GW in MGS2. Ocelot and Mama wanted to free Big Boss and get rid of the Patriots, and enlisted Naomi for help. Frank Yeager ended up killing Paramedic when he escaped, and Ocelot killed the DARPA chief, who was Sigint, and made it look like an accident. Zero was the only one left to kill, but then Eva lost Ocelot. He was fighting for Big Boss, and his arm was taken over by Liquid. She was then by herself, and Raiden appeared to help her. They found out where Big Boss's body was kept from the info they received from GW, and they got Big Boss's body back. She goes and shows us that Big Boss is in this black van, and it's not a pretty sight at all. His consciousness is locked away by nanomachines, and that he's not brain dead. He's just kept asleep. She explains that we can't let Liquid control everyone, and we have to protect Big Boss's body. We get a call from Otacon, and he explains that Naomi just disappeared after they got back with Raiden shit. We also see a weirdo in a trench coat, but he explains that we have to wait 48 hours until Raiden is better. Oh, the trench coat is dwarf geckos. The PMCs have now found their location. So now we have to get out of the city with a bunch of vans as decoys. We get on Big Mama's bike and have to get to the canals, avoiding gecko, frogs, PMCs, and raging ravens. It's epic, it's crazy. We end up getting taken out by Raven, and Big Mama is pierced in the abdomen yet again. History just keeps repeating itself. She's upset at the loss of her children, and we leave her with a gun to go fight Raging Raven. It's an epic battle, but we do finally get the best of her. She gets out of her suit, and by the way, can we just say how gorgeous every single one of these women are? Each one of the B&Bs, their village was basically destroyed and they became war orphans. This group of government or rebels then abused the kids constantly, and it built up a rage in their minds and bodies. And one day the soldiers just left the children to get eaten by ravens, and the ravens happened to release her bonds, so she was able to get away. She ended up killing all the ravens and caught up with the soldiers, and as night fell, she ended up killing everybody. We return to Mama, and she explains that the vans were all decoys, that the real body was floating down the river this entire time. Clever girl. We escort Big Mama to the riverbank. By the time we get there, Liquid Ocelot is waiting for us. Mama demands to know where Big Boss is. She sees the boat on fire and starts sobbing. The frogs arrive with Vamp and Naomi, and she told them everything. Traitor! Liquid taunts us, knifes us, shocks us, kicks our ass, and he says that he has GW functioning, and that they reconstructed it after MGS2. He plans on destroying JD, which is the main AI of the system, with a nuclear strike, and then take over the entire network via GW. Is this making sense? He wants to kill Zero and Big Boss and become a Patriot himself. The world can be reborn at Zero. Eva calls out for Adam, but he doesn't give a shit. Vamp alerts Liquid of the soldiers starting to surround them, and Liquid wants Snake to make sure to watch and see what happens. Meryl and the military are surrounding Liquid by water, land, and air. She tells him to stand down, and he starts laughing at her. Meanwhile, Snake helps Mama get on board of Meryl's ship. Meryl orders the troops to fire, and their weapons aren't working. Liquid says that the system is his, and to behold the guns of the Patriots. He's able to halt the helicopters and starts firing on the military. He then turns off the system, and everyone's nanomachines go haywire. Again, Johnny is unaffected. He shoots up Meryl's ship and throws Big Boss's body on the fire. Mama goes to throw herself on him, but ends up just standing there? Snake grabs Big Mama just in time as the ship is blown up, and Big Boss is completely charred. Otacon jumps on Liquid's boat as Mark II, and they sail away. Slowly, the soldiers begin to regain consciousness, and Johnny performs CPR on Meryl. It's not looking good. But she's alive. He asks her to call him Johnny. Oh, okay. Snake sits talking with Mama as she lay dying, and unfortunately, she succumbs to her wounds. The music. Snake's face is burnt to hell, but Drebin arrives to help us. Thank God for Drebin. Now we're back to mission briefing. Sunny is back to it, making eggs again, and missing Naomi. We see the footage from Mark II with Liquid talking to Naomi. He explains that they can't launch a nuke because JD, which is the main AI, controls the weapons of mass destruction, but that's how Rex comes in. Rex has nukes that the system doesn't control. They have to destroy JD, and then GW would control all, which is the one Liquid has, so yeah. Otacon accidentally runs into Naomi's leg because he's a creep, and Vamp destroys it. But no worries, Otacon has another one, and he's red. Burnt orange? Liquid was able to sneak into the Patriots system via GW. Because the Patriots thought it was dead, he was able to disguise himself and infiltrate the system. Then he made contact with Big Boss's code. And then when he didn't need it anymore, he just burnt him up into smithereens. Is any of this making sense? I hope so. Mei Ling is helping us, and she's tracing where the Mark II was, and she'll locate where the ship is. Snake is not looking so good. They get a phone call from Campbell, and he explains that the entire US military is under Liquid's control. The Patriots still have control of JD until Liquid destroys it, because GW can only control small guns and weapons. Rex's railgun is still intact because it existed before the system, and that's the only thing in the world that he can use to launch a nuke. Snake is deteriorating at a rapid rate, and Otacon says that they just can't beat him. Snake says, no man, we're gonna finish what we started. He looks at Raiden, and Sunny's like, no, he is not ready. Raiden wakes up and he's like, no, I'm good. And he wants to make his own damn choices in life for once. I mean, come on, it even rained on the day he was born. Snake then tries to talk him out of it. They're all super disgusted by his face when he takes his bandage off. But he says that Raiden still has a family to live for. And Raiden's like, no, I have nothing. But whatever, Raiden, you're staying, so get over it. Mei Ling calls us and tells us that Liquid is going towards Shadow Moses, and that the island hasn't even been touched since the incident, that the government erased every trace of the incident ever happening. Mei Ling will go meet us with the ship, since it's old and before the system she has weapons. Boys, we're going back to Shadow Moses.
Shadow Moses awaits.
They start us with the original Metal Gear Solid opening. It's the nostalgia. Act 4, Twin Suns. We arrive to Shadow Moses via helicopter and have our Mark III with us. There are some unmanned sentries around, but no people. We see a part of Shadow Moses that we never saw before and sneak into the base. And the best is yet to come welcomes us home. No. This entire level is full of flashbacks, and they literally brought a tear to my eye when I first played it. There's tons of Easter eggs, there's lots to do with the camera, it's amazing. This time the front door is open, but we can still choose to crawl through the vents if we want. We make our way to the snowfield where we fought Vulcan Raven's tank, and it's guarded by geckos, and arrive at the nuclear warhead storage building. Snake has to get the power running again by going to Otacon's old office. So many memories! We get to explore the area without a gas mask and find our way into the ninja hallway once again, and back into his office. As the Mark II, Otacon goes to his computer, and Snake has another coughing fit, having to inject himself yet again. We have to put in a password that Otacon gave us earlier, and if you forget what it is, he makes fun of us for being old. He works on getting the power running. The two reminisce about how this is where they first met. Otacon talks about how Naomi betrayed Snake and him by stealing his blood, but Snake questions why she would even come back with them if that's all she wanted. Something more has to be going on. Otacon finds some surveillance footage from an hour ago of Vamp and Naomi at Shadow Moses. We have to get to Rex's underground hangar, but this time we don't have to go through the commander's room. We can go right through the door. We have to distract the geckos while Otacon gets the door open, and then go towards the communication towers. As we enter the snowfield, we are targeted by Crying Wolf. How fitting. We have to face the frogs and her until we get her out of her shell. Wolves approach her, and unlike our original sniper wolf, she's afraid of them, and she dies. We grab her railgun, and Drebin tells us about her past, that she was born in a village that was attacked, and she left as a refugee with her baby brother. They came across some enemies, and she hid in a house, and he started crying, so she covered his mouth tight, but by the time she took her hand off when they were gone, he was dead. She then walked around with his dead body, imagining a wolf by her side. When she entered a refugee camp, there were lots of babies crying, which drove her crazy at night, and the wolf came into the camp and silenced all of the children. Except there was no wolf, it was only her. Dark, dude. Otacon remembers Wolf, and we see the wolf take her body away. You can also interact with the wolves in this area, and it's really nice and fun, and they give you hearts, and I love them. You can also find the Hind D crashed and walk through the area where Meryl was shot. We enter the blast furnace, and Otacon makes a great PS3 joke. We take a service elevator and have some flashbacks of Naomi explaining how Grey Fox was her brother. We enter the part of Shadow Moses we haven't seen before and make our way to the underground base. Rex's lair lay empty. Otacon lifts the elevator, and we enter the old site of our first battle. We find Rex, crumpled where we left it, but the railgun is missing. He doesn't need the whole thing. Vamp arrives telling us the railgun is gone, and Naomi is by his side seductively? Oh, Queen Fortune would be pissed about that. Otacon is going to work on getting Rex functioning again, and in the meantime we are going to fight Vamp. Unfair immortal advantage. But we even the playing ground by injecting Vamp with the nanomachine suppressor. Now he's mortal just like us. Geckos arrive rigged to self-destruct when suddenly they're all sliced up in the blink of an eye. Yeah, your boy Raiden's back. He says Sunny gave him the go-ahead. Vamp challenges Raiden, and Snake is tasked with keeping the geckos at bay. They fight on top of Rex, much like our nostalgic fight, and in an epic side-by-side shot we fight off geckos while those two duel it out. Kojima, you guys are geniuses! Raiden slices Vamp and he falls off Rex. Otacon finally gets him functioning. Naomi sits by Vamp as he lay there dying, begging for her to ease his pain. What a baby. Raiden tells Naomi Sunny has a message for her. I cooked them right. Naomi starts crying. She starts talking to Otacon and tells him to end Vamp's suffering with the needle. He finally dies. It's gross. Otacon doesn't feel any better after the man who killed his sister dies. That's not how grief works. Naomi explains Liquid has taken their ark, a warship, Outer Haven. That's where Liquid will launch the nuke. Naomi injects herself with the needle. She explains that she was kept alive by nanomachines. She's had cancer this whole time and should be long dead. She says goodbye to Otacon and injects herself again. Poor Otacon is always losing the ones he loves. Every game. They always hit in the feels, man. As he mourns, the Sniper Wolf music plays, and we have to escape before the geckos kill us all. We board Rex, and Otacon mans up. Now we get to pilot Rex. Yes, childhood dreams come true. We take out a ton of gecko, and Raiden helps us slice through them. We escape just before the geckos self-destruct, but Raiden gets caught in the rubble. And out of nowhere, a Metal Gear Ray leaps from the water, and is piloted by Liquid, of course.
It's not over. Not yet.
Now we have an insane, epic Metal Gear fight. Rex versus Ray. It doesn't get any more amazing. We end up destroying Ray and are definitely worse for the wear. Liquid pretends to die a fox die. Who does that? What a kidder. And then runs towards his warship, fit with a Mount Rushmore of snakes. He talks about destroying JD and says Snake will stay on Shadow Moses to die. Raiden's arm is trapped under the rubble, but he searches for his blade and cuts his arm off to get free. Snake is f***ed. up and sitting in exhaustion as the boat comes to crush him. At the last minute, Raiden holds it back like a total boss, and Snake finally gets the hell out of the way, and Raiden gets smushed. He hears Rosemary in his head. We cut to Mei Ling, and she's firing on the warship. Liquid literally laughs it off and sails away. Snake goes to look for Raiden, and his blade stands, electrified. Snake starts to pass out as he sees a helicopter overhead. Mission briefing. The whole gang's here this time. Mei Ling is leading the briefing in a room with us and Rat Patrol. She's showing us where JD is being held, which is in space, and that's what Liquid has to nuke. So Haven has to surface to use a railgun, and that's their chance to get on board. Snake's got oxygen on, but he's still alive enough to make a Death Star joke. They're gonna attack Haven and get GW with a worm cluster. Mei Ling explains that GW is protected by a microwave hull, and whoever's going in is going to get cooked. Of course, Snake jokes that it's a perfect job for him. And Snake's like, where the hell are we getting this info from? And she explains that Naomi gave them every detail she could on how to destroy Haven. And that's why Naomi got on board with them, to get close to Otacon to give him the information. But she then realized Sunny was really the one to talk to about it. So Sunny continued to work on the code to destroy GW that Naomi just didn't have the time to complete. Sunny found EE's worm cluster and worked off that to make this new one. Snake loves to smoke in front of no smoking signs. Act 5, Old Sun. Mei Ling's ship approaches Liquid's outer haven, waiting for it to open for a shot to move in. Cue epic slow-mo walk. Yes. We learn that Raiden will survive, but that he's pretty messed up and he needs to rest for a while. And Drebin is here. What are you doing here? He explains that he supplied the catapults that we're going to use to fling onto Outer Haven. Him and Gray remake our frickin' move. Damn monkey. And Rat Patrol is coming on board with us. And if you didn't notice already, Outer Haven looks a lot like Arsenal gear, and that's because it's modeled after it. It's crawling with enemies, and this is going to be difficult, but the world's freedom literally depends on it. Haven emerges, and Colonel gives Meryl a pep talk. The feels. There's the railgun. The two ships begin to battle. And Mei Ling leads like a boss. All members start to catapult, and poor Johnny just doesn't make it and falls into the sea. Snake lands, and Meryl calls him, telling her ankle's busted, so she'll catch up later. And we have to deal with the frogs again, and be sneaky Snake to get into the door inside Haven. Inside we find Meryl on the floor, surrounded by frogs. So, naturally, we take all of them out. Meryl wakes up and she's being controlled by something. Mantis is here, just like in the first game. Again, Meryl puts a gun to her head. Suddenly, someone shoots a doll hanging off, screaming Mantis. It's Johnny! He made it! Where are the other two? Suddenly, all the frogs come back to life like zombies. Screaming Mantis has two dolls, Psycho Mantis and the Sorrow. And Snake sees Psycho Mantis controlling her. She takes control of Meryl again and tries to get Johnny, but it doesn't work on him. Johnny lays knocked out while we fight Mantis. You have to shoot the dolls off of her, and then you can use them against her, which is pretty badass. She comes out of her shell, and there's lots of boob jiggling going on. She dies, and her suit starts turning into Psycho Mantis. He repeats his same mind-reading skills from the first game, but it doesn't work because there is no memory card this time. It's an amazing fourth wall break, and he loses it because of the vibration. It's hilarious. Psycho Mantis is defeated because he just can't keep up with today's technology. Drebin calls to tell us about her village being burned to the ground as a little girl, that she was on her own and she ended up in a basement full of dead bodies. She had stumbled into a makeshift torture chamber and had to listen to the screams of those being tortured above. She was down there for weeks and starving, and so she kind of imagined this little black mantis in her head, and she started to eat the male corpses like a mantis. Later, they planted Psycho Mantis' persona inside of her, that all the B&Bs were controlled by her, which was part Psycho Mantis. We go to Meryl and more frogs come. Of course. Meryl tells Snake to go destroy GW and she'll protect the door. It's her turn to protect us. So, Snake runs to the microwave hall, having flashbacks along the way. Meryl is taking care of business, but running out of ammo. Just when she's about to be taken over, Johnny arrives and takes them all out. He's got lots of mags on him. Phew. He assures her that he'll never leave her alone again. The two of them start taking them out while talking. Johnny explains that he has no nanomachines, and that's why Mantis couldn't control him. He ducked out of getting them because he hates needles, and that's why he hasn't been affected this whole time, and hence the diarrhea. Meryl apologizes to him, but asks why he wanted to join her team in the first place. And he explains that he's always loved her ever since Shadow Moses. It was him she knocked out and took his clothes! Johnny asks her to marry him. The cheesy goodness of this scene is just too cheesy goodness. And she says no, and that she wants to do things her way, so she asks him, and so he says yes. They start getting shot and making wedding plans and kiss. Now we're back to Snake, who has to deal with tons of dwarf gecko until we reach the next corridor. Once there, Snake has another coughing fit while the frogs are ready to kill him. He injects himself, but it's not working anymore. Otacon is there coaxing him up, but it's no use. Suddenly, Raiden comes flying out of the elevator with his sword in his mouth because both of his arms are gone. He suddenly has lightning powers and it's freaking rad. He tells Snake he'll go to the server room, but Snake doesn't let him. He wants Raiden to start his life over again. He still has a future and Snake doesn't. Raiden says he'll keep them off him. Snake is basically dying as he enters a microwave hall. And thus begins one of the most epic scenes in Metal Gear Solid history, in my opinion. As we control Snake through the microwave hall, we watch our comrades fighting. Otacon walks with us as we struggle to get through, slowly dying. We watch our friends being taken over. The music plays in the background and it's just a heartbreaking scene. All seems lost, but Sunny cooks her eggs perfect. Snake's life is draining to basically nothing, but we do make it inside the server room, and Snake falls to the floor. The servers look a lot like an MGS3 cemetery scene. Otacon hacks the system as we protect him from Gecko. Raiden gets stabbed, Meryl and Johnny are about to be killed, Mei Ling's ship has Metal Gear Ray on it, and Dwarf Gecko are taking over Snake. But Otacon exclaims that they did it! They did it! Suddenly all the frogs start losing it and crying. It all shuts down. Otacon's like, wait a minute, the worm is still going after destroying GW. JD is being erased. Suddenly a video of Naomi goes across the screen. She explains that the virus will annihilate the entire AI network. She set the video to play once they were gone. She wanted to stop the Patriots from controlling everyone with the system. Sunny helped Naomi create a virus called Fox Alive, the opposite of Fox Die. She apologizes to Otacon for lying and thanks him for helping her feel the joy of living. Aww. And he breaks down, as usual. She tells Snake that his time has come to rest, and he starts convulsing. Otacon does the Snake, and seems like he dies. But he doesn't, and we wake up outside with Otacon telling us, hold on a second. As we lay there, we see Liquid walk up. He says that the war is over. Snake asks why didn't he stop them, and Liquid says that this is exactly how he hoped things would end up. Liquid explains who the philosophers were, see MGS3 Philosopher's Legacy, and that Zero wanted to control everyone and everything with the money and power he had. But Big Boss just wanted to create an army of free citizens who answered to no one, outer heaven, but it failed because of Snake. Liquid says he tried to do it in Shadow Moses, and Solidus after him, to free them all from the Patriots. That's what Liquid wanted. That's what they all wanted. Even though he's happy with the way it turned out, he injects Snake and says it's time for them to settle their score. Thus begins an epic-ass hand-to-hand battle atop Outer Haven. We fight Liquid, Liquid Ocelot, and Ocelot, each iteration with their own music and phrases. It's beautiful. We beat down Liquid Ocelot, and he says that it's only the beginning. He quotes Mama and says Snake is just like their father. And then dies. Otacon arrives in the chopper, and we see all the frogs being human. Sunny's program destroyed JD's brain, but left the brainstem. She cut the Patriots' control, but left important lifelines in place. Meaning we can still control ships, medicine, keeping the things intact that we still need. Epilogue, Naked Sin. Inside the Nomad, we see Meryl getting ready with Mei Ling in a wedding dress. Campbell is there congratulating her. She points a gun at him, but puts it down. She demands he walk her down the aisle. She's going to give him a chance to be in her life again. And he does walk her down the aisle, gun at her side and all. Her boys are there, and they all clap at her. And Sunny is looking dapper. Her dude from Rat Patrol marries them. And just as they're about to kiss, Drebin rolls through with his tank, and he shoots flowers and doves at them. What a freaking guy. Sunny closes her eyes at the kiss, as all kids should. The monkey catches the bouquet. Mei Ling asks Otacon where Snake is, and he says he doesn't know, but clearly he does. We now see a hospital room. Is it Snake? Oh, no, it's Raiden. In a human body. In walks Rose with a little man and flowers. Raiden turns his back on her. Rose tells him to look at the boy, and Raiden's like, what? Why do I want to look at Campbell's kid? She reveals that that is his child. She lied to Raiden about having a miscarriage, and that this boy is his. Roy only pretended to be her husband to protect them until they completed their mission, and that it kept them all safe from the Patriots. He didn't even tell Meryl, and that's why Meryl was super pissed at him. She reveals that the little boy's name is John.
Little John.
John is also Big Boss's name, in case you didn't know. Jack assumes that the boy is scared of him, but then the little kid says, no, he's pretty cool. He's like a superhero. They have a beautiful family moment together, and Jack says he'll never leave them again. They're gonna be happily ever after. It then cuts to Snake arriving at the same cemetery we first saw him in. His poor face. We see the boss's grave with fresh flowers laid down. Next to it is Big Boss's grave. In a voiceover, we hear Snake saying the war is over, but he has one more job to do. His final mission. He kneels in front of the grave and puts a gun to his mouth. The camera pans up and we hear a gunshot. We go back to the wedding where everyone is joyously celebrating. Drebin talks about how people are having SOP withdrawals and not knowing how to deal with everyday life, and that it's going to take a while to go back to normal. Drebin explains that he's actually been working for the Patriots the whole time. He was raised by them as a kid, and he was taught to be a gun launderer. He was under orders to protect them from the start, and he wasn't the only one. Otacon's like, what? What are you talking about? And it's revealed that Rat Patrol Team 01 were also taking orders from the Patriots, but they just didn't know it. He shows us a little trick with the spelling, literally Patriot. Otacon's like, why would the Patriots want to help them? And it's explained that Liquid's plot was going to ruin the Patriots, and so they wanted Snake to stop him from doing so. They just didn't realize that Snake would also wipe them out. And Drebin's just happy that he's no longer a pawn and he has a new world to live in. Sunny meets a local kid, and Otacon tells her that she can live outside if she wants to, just like Naomi suggested to him. She asks if Snake is coming back, and Otacon explains that Snake is really sick and has to go on a trip by himself and he needs some rest. Otacon starts crying and his glasses look funny, so they laugh, and him and Sunny watch the sunset together. The credits begin to roll, and when I first played this, I started crying like a baby until we see a credit for Big Boss. What? He wasn't in this game? Boom, we cut back to Snake, who hasn't pulled the trigger yet. We hear someone talking to him saying, good, it's not your time. It's freaking Big Boss! It's Big Boss! Richard Doyle was Solidus, so it makes sense for him to have his voice. It's perfect. Debriefing, Naked Sun. He has the Patriot, and Snake aims at him. Big Boss drops his weapon and hugs Snake. Aww. Big Boss tells Snake that he's not here to fight, and that he just wants Snake to put aside the gun and live. He explains that the Patriots are all gone, and soon he will be too. Snake's like, dude, how are you alive right now? And it's revealed that the body burnt by Liquid was Solidus. Solidus was a perfect clone, so the Patriots and Zero bought that it was him. The real Big Boss was implanted with nanomachines to keep him unconscious by JD, and that the system had to be completely destroyed to wake him back up. Ocelot and Eva wanted to bring him back and end the Patriots. Naomi, Ocelot, and Mama worked together. Eva stole his body from the Patriots and reconstructed him using pieces of Liquid and Solidus. Ocelot wanted to fool the Patriots and use nanomachines and psychotherapy to transplant Liquid's personality into his own. So no, it wasn't Liquid in his arm taking over. He wanted to trick the system. Big Boss then shows us there's Zero. He's in a wheelchair and looking like a total vegetable. When they opened GW, that's how they found Zero. As Zero got older, the Patriots went on without him via proxies. They deviated into war and the war economy, and they just stuck with that. Zero has no idea that he led the world almost into ruin, but Big Boss reveals that he has no hatred for him anymore. That the original members of the Patriots are all dead except those two. And he has to return the world to Zero, so he turns off his oxygen. Big Boss holds him as he dies. Snake asks, well, are you going to Zero too? And Big Boss comments that Snake's killed him twice before and this will be the third time. That the fox dye in Snake's body is already starting to kill him. And it's what killed Eva, really. Naomi had told Big Boss everything, that the proxies wanted to kill all the original Patriots, since they don't run things anymore anyways. He asked Snake to take him over to the boss. He's starting to fade fast. He says Naomi had a message for Snake. The new fox dye in his system is multiplying and is preventing the old fox dye from reproducing. So basically he won't kill everybody, at least not for a very, very long time, and he doesn't have that much time anyways. Big Boss tells him not to waste the rest of his life fighting. He's never thought of him as a son, but he's always respected him as a soldier and a man. He says that ever since he killed the boss, he was already dead. Oh, so sad. The boss always said to not change the world, but to leave it as it is. And Big Boss finally understands and salutes her one last time. Big Boss is fading and says the world is ready to be new and that Snake needs to live his life not as a snake but as a man. He tells us that Zero, Liquid, and Solidus all fought for their liberty, but they were stuck inside this cage the whole time, and that Snake is finally free and that he just has to go live. Snake lights his cigar for him.
This is good. Isn't it?
Big Boss dies. The credits roll, and as in every Metal Gear game, there's a post-credits conversation. We hear Otacon tell Snake, wait up, that he forgot his smokes, but Snake says he's quitting because those things will kill you. Snake says he has to see what the future brings. Otacon's like, I'll go with you, but Snake's like, no dude, I'm gonna die soon. But Otacon says he wants to bear witness to Snake's final days and be able to pass on Snake's stories, and that he'll stick with him till the end. And also that it's not fair, he can't suffer Sunny's eggs by himself. So basically, Solid Snake gets to live the rest of his short life out with Otacon and Sunny truly living for the first time. Not as a pawn, not as a snake, but as a free man. We see Sunny making eggs and they look amazing, and she says that the sun is rising again. Amazing game. I have no idea how I'm going to shorten this. This is so long. I love this game to bits and pieces. In watching it again, I now need to go back and play it again. It's fantastic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you want me to do an MGS5 one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.